Imagine for a moment that your life is a movie. The camera follows you. The soundtrack swells with your emotions. Every sunrise is an opening shot. Every challenge is a plot twist designed for your growth. You are the protagonist, the hero, the one the story is all about. Everyone else? They're just supporting cast. Or maybe they're just extras, filling out the background of your epic tale. This is the core fantasy of what's been called main character syndrome. It's a phrase that has exploded across our digital world. Our romantic notion of centering yourself in your own narrative, of curating your experiences as if you're living inside a film. And on the surface, it sounds empowering, doesn't it? It encourages you to seek out beauty, to find meaning in the mundane, to be the active author of your story, not a passive observer. But, as with any powerful idea, there's a delicate balance, a fine line between a healthy story and a dangerous delusion. When does empowering self-focus step over into isolating self-absorption? When does the hero of the story become the villain in someone else's? This is where our journey begins, into the psychology of the self, and the difference between being the main character and just being a narcissist. Let's be clear, the desire to be the protagonist of your own life is not inherently bad. It's a powerful engine for self-improvement and resilience. It's the mindset that says, this setback is not the end of my story. It's just the second act complication before my triumphant comeback. This perspective can fuel creativity and ambition. It can help you make bold choices, to travel, to start a new project, to essentially direct your life with intention and purpose. It's a way of reclaiming agency in a world that often feels chaotic and random. A healthy main character understands that other people are main characters in their own movies. Their stories are just as complex, just as important. Life becomes a brilliant ensemble piece, a shared universe of narratives, where plots intersect and characters help each other grow. But there is another path, a darker one where the spotlight on the self becomes so bright, it blinds you to everyone else. This is where we leave the realm of healthy self-esteem and begin to approach the clinical territory of narcissism. Narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, is a formal diagnosis. It's not just about being vain or posting a lot of selfies. It's a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a constant need for admiration, and a profound lack of empathy. As outlined in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM-5. Let's break down the distinction. Healthy self-esteem is rooted in reality. It's an appreciation of your own worth, while also recognizing the worth of others. Main character energy, at its best, is a motivational framework, a story you tell yourself to be brave. Narcissism, however, is built on a foundation of fantasy and a desperate need to protect a fragile ego. Someone with narcissistic traits doesn't just feel like the main character. They believe they are the only character that matters. Other people are not fellow protagonists. They are pawns to be moved, tools to be used, or simply an audience, there to applaud their greatness. A key symptom is a lack of empathy. They're unable or unwilling to recognize the feelings and needs of others. If a friend is going through a crisis, their first thought might be, how does this affect me? How does this interrupt the script of my perfect day? They have an insatiable need for admiration. This goes beyond wanting a few likes on a photo. It's a deep, gnawing hunger for validation, for proof of their superiority. Without it, their inflated sense of self feels threatened, fragile, and empty. This leads to a sense of entitlement and a belief that they are special and unique. They believe they can only be understood by, or should associate with, other special or high-status people. Rules don't apply to them, because the story is, after all about them. So, where does this profound self-focus come from? To understand, we have to go deeper, into the very architecture of the human mind. Let's start with Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Freud proposed a model of the psyche with three parts: the id, the ego, and the superego. The id is our primal, instinctuant desires, the raw, unfiltered I want part of us. The superego is our internalized moral conscience, the voice of society, parents, and rules. And the ego is the mediator, the realist, the executive branch of our personality. It's the part of you trying to satisfy the id's desires in a way the superego will find acceptable. In our movie analogy, The ego is the director. It's trying to craft a coherent film out of the wild script of our desires and the strict rules of the studio. A healthy ego creates a good movie, a balanced life. But a fragile or overwhelmed ego can lead to defenses that distort reality, like narcissism. Freud's student, Carl Jung, took these ideas in a different direction. Jung was less interested in what was wrong with people and more interested in how they could become whole. He called this process individuation, the journey to discover and integrate all the parts of yourself, both light and shadow. For Jung, becoming a true main character wasn't about being perfect or heroic. It was about being complete. It meant acknowledging your shadow self, the parts of you that you repress or deny. The goal is to integrate these pieces into a unified, authentic self. A narcissist, in Jungian terms, is someone who has completely disowned their shadow. They project an image of pure light, pure perfection. But this perfection is a brittle mask, hiding a deep fear of their own perceived flaws. True wholeness requires embracing the entire story, not just the highlight reel. Then came a psychoanalyst named Heinz Kohut, whose work is crucial here. He developed a field called self-psychology. Kohut believed that we all have narcissistic needs as children. It's a normal part of development. We need our parents to act as self-objects. We need them to mirror our accomplishments, to beam with pride when we take our first steps. This mirroring tells us, I am good, I am capable, I am seen. We also need to idealize them, to see them as perfect and all-powerful. This makes us feel safe, part of something strong and wonderful. But what happens when that mirroring doesn't happen? Or when our idealized parents reveal themselves to be painfully flawed before we're ready? Kohut argued that this can lead to a developmental arrest. The person spends the rest of their life seeking out those missing self-objects. They look for others to mirror their grandiose ideal, to be idealized by them. And what is modern social media, if not a giant, global machine for this? Every like, every comment, every follow is a little piece of mirroring. I am good, I am capable, I am seen. We curate an idealized version of our lives for an audience we can, in turn, idealize. It's a search for the developmental building blocks we may have missed. A way to stabilize a self that feels wobbly and uncertain on the inside. This brings us to the story itself. The psychologist Daniel McAdams developed a fascinating theory called narrative identity. He argued that starting in young adulthood, we begin to construct a personal myth, an internalized and evolving story of the self that integrates our past, present, and imagined future. As he puts it, we are all storytellers, and the most important story we ever tell is the one we tell about ourselves. This personal myth gives our lives a sense of meaning, purpose, and continuity. It answers the big questions: who am I? How did I get here? Where am I going? It's how we make sense of our suffering and our triumphs. We weave them into a coherent plot. Main character syndrome can be seen as a very conscious, very deliberate attempt to write this narrative identity. Instead of letting the story emerge, you're trying to script it in real time. You're not just the narrator, you're the screenwriter, director, and star. This can be a powerful tool for shaping your future. If your narrative is one of overcoming adversity, you'll be more resilient in the face of challenges. If your story is about a quest for knowledge, you'll be more curious and open to learning. You can literally write yourself into being a better person. But again, the danger lies in the editing process. What happens when you edit out all the characters who challenge you? What happens when you delete the scenes where you were wrong, or unkind, or failed? Your story becomes a fantasy, a work of fiction. And a story with only one character is a very lonely story indeed. This idea of our connection to others is central to another school of thought-object relations theory. It sounds complex, but the idea is simple. Our earliest relationships, primarily with caregivers, create mental blueprints. We internalize objects, which are mental representations of ourselves, others, and our relationships. If our early relationships were safe, loving, and reliable, we develop a secure internal world. We see ourselves as worthy of love and others as generally trustworthy. We can form healthy, interdependent relationships as adults. We understand that we can be a main character while respecting others. But if our early relationships were inconsistent, neglectful, or abusive, We internalize a world of unmistrust. We might see ourselves as unworthy, or see others as objects to be controlled for our own safety. This can create a desperate need to be the main character as a defense mechanism. If you're the sole protagonist, you're in control. No one can abandon you, because you don't truly need them. They are just props in your drama. This grandiosity masks a deep-seated fear of being hurt or abandoned. And now, we add the ultimate amplifier to this dynamic, the digital age. Psychologists have long talked about the imagined audience. The feeling, especially in adolescence, that you are constantly being watched and judged. But for us, the audience is no longer imaginary. It's real. It has a number. It gives instant feedback. We perform our lives for our followers, our friends, our subscribers. We post our main character moments, the beautiful sunset, the perfect coffee, the new achievement, and the audience responds, validating our performance. This creates a powerful self-referential loop. We perform, we get validation, which encourages us to perform more. The line between the authentic self and the performed self begins to blur. We risk becoming a character written by committee, based on what gets the most likes. And here's the ultimate paradox of maladaptive main character syndrome. It is born from a desire to be seen, to be central, to matter. But in its extreme form, it leads to the exact opposite. It leads to profound isolation. True connection requires vulnerability. It requires seeing another person in all their complexity. It requires putting your own script aside to listen to theirs. It requires empathy. The person lost in their own movie cannot do this. They cannot forge genuine bonds because they can't see others as real. They are surrounded by a cast of 1 million people, yet they are utterly alone on their own stage. So how do we find the balance? How do we use this impulse for good? How do we become the protagonist of a rich, meaningful life without becoming a narcissist? The first step is awareness, to recognize the story you're telling yourself, and to ask if that story has room for other people. Embrace a healthy drive for self-actualization. Use the main character mindset to push yourself, to be courageous, to take responsibility for your life. See yourself as the hero of your journey. But remember that the greatest heroes are the ones who serve and connect with others. The goal is not to be the only star in the sky. It's to recognize you are part of a vast and beautiful constellation. Your light is important, yes, but it is made infinitely more beautiful by the light of those around you. It is the pattern, the connection, that creates the breathtaking view. Challenge yourself to be interested in other people's stories. Ask questions. Listen. Put your phone down. See the world from their perspective. You might find it enriches your own story in ways you never imagined. You're not just the star of your movie. You're also a supporting character in theirs. And that's a beautiful, vital role to play. So, be the main character. Write a story of courage, kindness, and growth. Direct a life of purpose and intention. But never forget that the best films and the best lives are about connection. They are about how different stories, different lights, come together to create something truly magnificent.